Alright, happy anniversary to myself again. Today is the 12th anniversary of when I first came out as a solosexual. It'd be many years before I would actually come out to the public, but 12 years ago today I came to terms with my sexuality to myself. And I just put together a little bit of a photo album of some of the highlights of my solosexual life. So as you guys probably all know by now, the first solosexual date I ever went on was to go to a coin show in Rochester, New York. I used to collect a lot of copper pennies and, to a lesser extent, silver coins, right? I was a PhD candidate. Buying silver back then was the equivalent of buying gold or platinum today, right? It stretched my budget a little bit, right? And so as a photo of that, I found a photo of myself searching rolls of coins for copper. That was my first ever solosexual relationship. I really don't have a name for that relationship, so I just call it Solosexual 1. I'll get to the more interesting ones later in this slideshow. Later on, I started writing computer games, and I competed in a number of advanced AI games in the Computer Olympiad. And so this is one of the games I competed in called Chushogi, and I made a set for it out of plywood just so I can demonstrate my computer program in a way that observers can watch. Now, in 2016, I was dating a girl a few years my junior. She was living with her family, and we got into a heated argument, and I stormed out of her family's home, and I was so lost in thought. I ended up driving to Vantage, Washington, ending up in the Wild Horses Monument. And I liked it so much, I thought of it as a space station here on Earth. And so began my second big solosexual relationship, which I now call Solosexual Interstellar. And it was the difference between this relationship and solosexual ones. This one I actually felt romance toward myself. Solosexual 1 was more of a date. This one was romance, and it was the first time I ever felt romance. Eventually I got a girlfriend. Eventually I had to leave the girlfriend because we had to stay 6 feet apart, and so began my third big solosexual relationship, which I now call Solosexual 6 feet away. This was me at the Chaz protest. Ironically, on the 10th anniversary of my first ever solosexual date, I eventually moved out to the Rockies, where I really found myself because I was accepted for who I was. This is me in Missoula, and this is me in Wallace. And then we started to reopen businesses. I started to go out and mingle with people more. I like to think I imported the lessons I learned from Missoula and Wallace, and I educated people in the bigger cities like Phoenix, where I later moved to in 2021. And so began my fourth major solosexual relationship, which I nicknamed Solosexual Reemerge. This is me in the Desert Botanical Garden. And during the Reemerge relationship, which is still ongoing to this day, I bowled a half-perfect game in bowling. I scored 6 strikes out of 12, so I call it a half-perfect game. And to celebrate, I sang Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, especially the halfway there line. And quite a few people celebrated with me at the bowling alley, if I remember correctly. And so there it is, 12 years of a solosexual relationship. A lot of marriages don't last 12 years, so I'm very proud of myself for this relationship.